Most people think that if an organ is failing, it must hurt. But the liver doesn't work that way. Biologically, the liver can lose more than half of its function while you feel absolutely fine. No pain, no warning, no symptoms. In this video, you'll understand why the liver stays silent, how modern life blocks liver repair, and why waiting for pain often means waiting too long. Most people believe that if an organ is failing, it must hurt. Pain feels like the body's alarm. So, if there is no pain, there is no problem. That belief is especially dangerous when it comes to the liver, because the liver is one of the few organs that can lose a massive amount of function without producing any pain at all. Not a sharp pain, not a warning ache, not even discomfort. And this isn't a flaw in the liver's design. It is the very reason the liver exists. The liver is designed to be silent. To understand why, you need to understand what the liver actually does. It's not just another organ. It is the central processing unit of your metabolism. Every single minute, blood passes through the liver. Every minute, toxins are filtered, nutrients are processed, hormones are broken down, blood sugar is regulated, fats are packaged and redistributed. This work never stops. Because of this constant, heavy workload, the liver evolved a very specific survival strategy. It doesn't complain, it compensates. The liver has an extraordinary reserve capacity. Large portions of the liver can be damaged, inflamed, or scarred, while the remaining healthy tissue simply picks up the slack and works harder. Function continues. Blood chemistry stays stable, digestion still works. From the outside, everything looks completely normal. This is why liver disease is so often discovered by accident. During a routine ultrasound, a checkup for something unrelated, a blood test done for another reason, people are shocked. They say, "But I feel fine," and they're telling the truth. Because pain is not how the liver signals trouble. The liver itself has very few pain receptors. It doesn't send pain signals when its own cells are being damaged. Pain only appears much later, when the organ has swollen so much that it starts stretching the tissues and capsules surrounding it, or when serious complications arise. By then, the disease is no longer in its early stages. But the silence begins much earlier, long before pain, long before a diagnosis, long before any obvious symptoms. The earliest stages of liver dysfunction are not dramatic, they're subtle. Fat starts accumulating inside liver cells. Low-grade inflammation begins to simmer. Changes happen in how fats and sugars are processed. None of these things cause any pain, and none of these immediately change your blood tests either. Because the liver adapts, the healthy cells increase their workload. Metabolic pathways get rerouted. Detoxification continues. This incredible adaptation can go on for years, sometimes even for decades. During this entire time, the person feels mostly fine. Maybe they're slightly more tired than they used to be. Maybe they notice a slower recovery after stress. Maybe their sleep just doesn't feel as refreshing as it once did. But these are all very easy to ignore or blame on something else. They don't feel like liver disease, and that is exactly why liver disease progresses so silently. The liver doesn't warn you early because an early warning would actually interfere with your survival. Imagine if every little metabolic imbalance caused pain. You would be in constant distress. So evolution favored a system of silence and compensation. This works remarkably well for short-term stress. But in modern life, our stress is often not short-term, it's chronic. Excess calories, chronic inflammation, alcohol exposure, medications, environmental toxins, sleep disruption, psychological stress. The liver absorbs all of it. quietly, the liver becomes a buffer between the environment and your body. It takes the hit so the rest of your system can keep going. But all buffers eventually wear out. And when the liver's reserve capacity begins to decline, it doesn't announce it with pain. It announces it with subtle inefficiency. Blood sugar becomes a little harder to regulate. Fat metabolism becomes less flexible. Inflammation becomes more persistent. These changes are not dramatic enough to trigger any alarms. So people keep living the same way. The liver keeps compensating. This is where the concept of 70% loss comes from. The liver can lose a huge majority of its functional capacity before clear, undeniable symptoms appear. Not because the damage is mild, but because the remaining healthy tissue is overworking to the point of exhaustion. By the time symptoms finally appear, the liver is no longer just adapting, it is struggling to survive. But most people never see that early phase. They jump from feeling fine to a serious diagnosis. It feels sudden, but biologically it is not. It's the result of a long, silent process. This pattern explains why so many people say things like, "But I, Dan, drink much," or "I eat relatively healthy," or "I didn't think my liver was at risk." Because liver disease is not just about alcohol. It is about the cumulative metabolic stress the organ has endured over time. The liver doesn't fail because of one single bad habit. It fails because, over a long period, the rate of damage outpaces the rate of repair. And repair is the key concept here. The liver has a remarkable, almost legendary, ability to regenerate. But regeneration is not automatic. It requires the right conditions. It needs adequate sleep. It needs a low inflammatory burden. It needs balanced metabolic signals. It needs periods of recovery. When these conditions are present, the liver can heal itself with incredible efficiency. But when they are absent, repair is delayed. And delayed repair leads to accumulation. Fat accumulates, inflammation persists, fibrosis or scarring begins quietly. Still no pain, still no clear warning. This is why focusing on symptoms misses the point entirely. The liver does not use pain to communicate early distress. It uses performance, and its performance declines subtly. This is why the early signs of liver disease are so often misinterpreted as just normal aging or being stressed out. The signals are too quiet, and the liver is just too good at hiding trouble. In part 2 of this video, we're going to go deeper into this silent process. We'll explore how fatty liver develops without any pain, why standard blood tests often miss early liver damage, and how the signals from your lifestyle can tell you more than a lab result. Because understanding liver disease requires letting go of the idea that pain equals danger. When it comes to the liver, pain is late. Biology is early, and the liver speaks the language of biology fluently but very, very quietly. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss part 2. Thanks for watching. In the first part of this series, we talked about the liver's silence. We talked about how it can lose a huge part of its functional capacity, maybe up to 70%, while you still feel perfectly fine. This brings us to the question most people ask next. If my liver is already under so much strain, why don't my blood tests show it? Why do so many people, maybe even you, hear the same words from their doctor? Your liver enzymes are normal. There's nothing serious yet, just watch your diet. To understand this apparent contradiction, you need to understand what those standard liver tests actually measure. Here's the crucial point. Most standard liver blood tests do not measure liver health, they measure liver injury. Enzymes like ALT and AST, the ones you see on your lab report, only rise when liver cells are actively breaking down and spilling their contents into your bloodstream. But earlier stage liver disease is not primarily a disease of cell death. It's a disease of adaptation. Fat begins to accumulate inside your liver cells. Inflammation becomes low-grade and chronic. Your metabolic pathways start to shift and change. Your cells are definitely stressed, but they aren't dying in large enough numbers to set off the alarm bells on a blood test. So, your enzyme levels stay comfortably within the normal range. This is one of the biggest and most dangerous misunderstandings in liver health. People assume that normal enzymes mean a healthy liver. They don't. They simply mean your liver has not yet entered a phase of widespread active cell destruction. And that is a very, very different thing. In fatty liver disease, especially in its early and moderate stages, your liver cells aren't rupturing. They're just overloaded. They swell up with fat. Their mitochondria, the little power plants inside the cells, start working less efficiently. Inflammatory signals begin to increase. But because the cells are staying intact, your blood tests remain reassuringly normal. Meanwhile, inside your liver, something very important is changing. Your liver is becoming less flexible. It's not handling sugar as efficiently as it used to. It's packaging and storing fat differently. It's responding more slowly to the metabolic signals your body sends it. This loss of metabolic flexibility is one of the very earliest signs of trouble. But metabolic flexibility is not something that gets measured on a standard lab report. The liver also has another powerful trick up its sleeve for hiding damage. It has enormous redundancy. Not every part of your liver has to work at full capacity all the time. When one region is stressed or damaged, another region can pick up the slack and compensate. From your body's perspective, the job is still getting done. Blood is still being filtered, proteins are still being produced, toxins are still being cleared, so no alarm is raised. This is exactly why fatty liver is so often discovered by accident during an ultrasound or some other imaging for a completely unrelated issue. The person feels fine. Their blood tests are acceptable, but the image clearly shows fat accumulation. This moment of discovery is critical. It's a fork in the road. One path leads to recovery and healing. The other leads to progression and more serious disease. And which path your liver takes has very little to do with pain or how you feel. It has everything to do with the signals it receives. The liver responds to signals, not to your good intentions. You can intend to be healthy all you want, but your liver only responds to the metabolic reality it's living in. Constant high insulin levels, frequent sugar spikes from your diet, chronic inflammation, poor sleep, and persistent stress hormones, all of these send one consistent message to your liver. Store energy, adapt to the stress. Delay repair. You see, repair is not the liver's default mode. Repair only happens when the environment allows for it. It happens when the demand for energy is low, when inflammation drops, when stress hormones fall, and when you give your body a window to recover. If these conditions are never met, repair gets postponed, and postponed repair is exactly how fatty liver progresses. First, it progresses to inflammation, which we call steatohepatitis, then to fibrosis, which is scarring, and then, in some cases, to cirrhosis. And this entire downward spiral can happen without you feeling a single ounce of pain. This is why people get so confused when a doctor tells them, "You have fatty liver, but it's not serious yet." What that phrase usually means is, you are still in the compensation phase. Your liver is strained, yes, but it hasn't failed yet. The real danger isn't that your liver is damaged today. The danger is that the environment and the lifestyle that caused the damage are still present. And so your liver is still stuck in adaptation mode. This adaptation can feel like stability, because nothing seems to be getting worse on the surface. But it is not stability. It is borrowed time. Another major misunderstanding is the role of alcohol. For decades, we've been taught to think that liver disease is primarily an alcohol problem. While alcohol is certainly a major factor, it is not the only one. Modern non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is overwhelmingly driven by metabolism. It's driven by excess calories, insulin resistance, and chronic inflammation. You can drink very little alcohol, or none at all, and still completely overload your liver metabolically. You can eat clean foods, but eat so frequently that you never give your liver a break. You can exercise regularly, but remain so chronically stressed that your body is flooded with cortisol. The liver doesn't judge these signals individually. It integrates all of them. It responds to the total, overall load. This is why two people with very similar diets can have completely different liver outcomes. One person's lifestyle has built-in recovery windows. The other person's doesn't. One person's body has the opportunity to repair, while the other's remains in a constant state of adaptation. The liver doesn't just fail suddenly, out of the blue. It transitions. It moves slowly from flexibility to rigidity, from a state of repair to a state of compensation, from resilience to fragility. And this entire transition is invisible if you're only watching for pain. This brings us back to the most important concept of all. Pain is not the liver's language. The liver speaks the language of metabolism. It speaks through how your body handles sugar, through how easily inflammation resolves after a minor injury or illness, through how resilient and stable your energy levels feel throughout the day. When these signals start to shift for the worse, it means your liver is already working harder, even if your tests are normal, and even if you feel fine. This is why early liver disease is so often dismissed. It doesn't match our expectations of what illness should look and feel like. We expect illness to hurt. But liver disease whispers, and modern life is so loud that those whispers are very easily ignored. In part 3 of this series, we're going to bring all of this together. We'll talk about what actually accelerates liver damage, why so many of our modern habits unintentionally block the liver's ability to repair itself, and how understanding the process of repair can completely change your liver's trajectory without fear, without extreme measures, and without chasing symptoms. Because the liver's silence is not a death sentence. It is an opportunity. But it is only an opportunity if you understand what it is trying to tell you before the silence ends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In the first 2 parts of this series, we uncovered a quiet, uncomfortable truth. The liver, your body's silent workhorse, can lose up to 70% of its function without ever sending a pain signal. It doesn't warn. It doesn't complain. It simply compensates, adapts, and carries on while the damage silently accumulates. This brings us to the most important question of all. If the liver has such a remarkable, almost mythical, capacity to regenerate, why does liver damage continue to progress in so many people? Why doesn't the liver simply heal itself? The answer isn't what you might think. It's not about a lack of motivation or discipline. It's not even about a lack of awareness. The answer is environment. Your liver doesn't heal because the conditions of modern life keep it in a state where repair is constantly postponed. You see, repair isn't the liver's default mode. Repair is conditional. The liver only begins to rebuild when it receives specific signals that say, this is a safe and appropriate time to rebuild. But modern life bombards it with the opposite message. Constant feeding, constant stimulation, constant stress, constant inflammation. From a biological perspective, this feels like one long, continuous emergency. And in an emergency, the body doesn't waste resources on repair. It prioritizes immediate survival. The liver is at the absolute center of this survival response. Every single time you eat, your liver shifts into processing mode. Every time your blood sugar rises, your liver is tasked with managing storage and release. Every time stress hormones, like cortisol, surge, the liver has to adjust the body's fuel availability. Now, none of these actions are harmful in isolation. They are normal, essential functions. The real problem is the complete lack of recovery windows. The human liver evolved in an environment where feeding was intermittent. Stress was acute and short-lived, and darkness signaled a time for rest and repair. Today, those ancient signals are completely blurred. Eating often extends late into the night. Artificial light from screens disrupts our natural circadian rhythm. And for many of us, stress never fully turns off. The result? The liver never receives a clear, unambiguous signal to switch from its daytime job of adaptation to its nighttime job of repair. So, it just stays busy, and busy organs don't regenerate. This is the hidden reason why so many people feel frustrated. They're trying to do all the right things, but they still see their fatty liver condition progressing. They eat better foods, they exercise more, they reduce obvious risks like alcohol, but they haven't changed the underlying signals that are keeping the liver stuck. Repair is not about effort, it's about timing. The liver repairs most effectively during periods of low insulin, low inflammation, and low stress hormones. These optimal conditions are supposed to occur naturally during deep sleep and during periods of true metabolic rest, like fasting. But what happens if your sleep is fragmented? What if late-night eating is a regular habit? What if your stress hormones remain chronically elevated? Those precious repair windows shrink, or they may never open at all. This is why sleep is not an optional luxury for liver health. It is a biological necessity. Deep sleep is when the liver finally gets to clock out from its processing duties and begin its vital rebuilding work. During these hours, growth hormone rises, insulin levels drop, and inflammatory signaling quiets down. This calm, restorative environment allows liver cells to finally clear out stored fat, repair their damaged mitochondria, and restore their metabolic flexibility. When sleep is consistently disrupted, night after night, the liver never fully enters this repair mode. It just adapts to the damage. This also explains why chronic stress is so incredibly destructive to liver health. Stress hormones are a danger signal. They tell the liver, release energy now. Delay all non-essential projects, including repair, so you can be eating a perfect diet and exercising regularly. But if your life is filled with chronic, unresolved stress, your liver stays in a defensive posture, and defensive organs do not regenerate. They conserve energy. They delay long-term projects. They compensate for damage. Again, this isn't a failure of your body. It's your biology doing exactly what it was designed to do in the face of a perceived threat. The problem is that our biology was designed for short-term, sprint-like stresses, not the chronic marathon of stress that defines modern life. This is where so many conversations about liver health go wrong. They focus almost exclusively on what to remove: less sugar, less processed fat, less alcohol. And yes, removal helps. But removal alone does not guarantee repair. Repair requires permission. That permission comes from signals. Those signals come from patterns. Patterns like creating distinct periods of not eating, maintaining consistent sleep and wake times, reducing light and stimulation at night, and finding ways to achieve true psychological disengagement from your daily stressors. These patterns are what send the message to the liver: the emergency is over. It's safe to rebuild now. Without these clear signals, the liver remains stuck in adaptation mode. And adaptation, sustained over years and decades, eventually becomes disease. This perspective also helps us understand why extreme interventions so often disappoint in the long run. People go on crash diets. They over-exercise. They obsess over every number. But, in doing so, they often inadvertently increase their body's stress load and reduce their capacity for recovery. The liver responds by compensating even harder. Some short-term numbers might improve on a lab report, but the organ's long-term resilience does not. At Health Reimagined, we approach the liver differently. We don't see it as a broken organ to be fixed, but as an incredibly intelligent system that is simply responding to the signals it's receiving from its environment. If you change the signals, the response will change. This completely reframes the idea of prevention. Prevention isn't about achieving perfection. It's about creating alignment. An alignment between your ancient biology and your modern environment. When that alignment improves, the liver often recovers far more than people were ever told was possible. Because the capacity for regeneration was never lost. It was just postponed. This is also why we often see liver disease markers improve dramatically when people fix their sleep patterns, manage their stress, and introduce periods of metabolic rest, sometimes even before significant weight loss occurs. The liver responds very quickly once the conditions are finally right for repair. It's not magic, it's just delayed biology finally catching up. Understanding this principle prepares us for what comes next in our series. Because the liver isn't unique in this behavior. It's simply the first major organ where this pattern of silent failure becomes visible. The exact same principles of compensation and adaptation apply to the heart. The heart, too, adapts quietly to years of pressure and stress. It remodels its structure, it compensates for the load. Until one day, it can't anymore. In the next video, we will move from the liver to the heart. We'll explore why heart disease, like liver disease, often develops without pain, without clear warnings, and without obvious abnormalities on standard tests. We'll discuss why so many cardiac events are not sudden, out-of-the-blue occurrences, but rather the final, predictable chapter of a long story of silent compensation. Because once you understand the liver's silence, you start to recognize the pattern everywhere. And that recognition is where true, meaningful prevention finally begins. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next part of this crucial conversation.